Mercury. In our solar system, we got 8 planets, and the planet who is the nearest with Sun is Mercury, which is 58 million kilometers. What is the size of Mercury? Mercury is just a little big from Moon. The diameter of Mercury is just about 4,879.4 kilometers. Meanwhile, our Moon is about 3,474.2 kilometers. So it's not that big compared than our Moon. Due to the Mercury being close to the Sun, we will receive a brighter light there compared than on Earth. Generally, atmosphere got a few layers, which is exosphere, thermosphere, mesosphere, and stratosphere. Mercury only have one, which is exosphere, but the exosphere there is really thin. Exosphere contains of oxygen, helium, hydrogen, sodium, and potassium. Because of that, Mercury can contain the heat from the Sun. So the weather there is really extreme. It can be really hot and really cold. In the daytime, the temperature can reach to 427 degrees Celsius. Meanwhile, in the nighttime can reach about negative 180 degrees. Mercury can orbit the Sun only about 88 days. They orbit about 47 km per second. Mercury spins slowly on its axis and completes one rotation every 59 Earth days. What about the surface of Mercury? Mercury's surface resembles that of Earth's moon. Next, Mercury has the lowest magnetic field, which is 150 times lower than Earth, so they can avoid the asteroids and comets. In conclusion, this planet is not suitable for a human because of extreme weather and low magnetic field.
Venus.
Venus is the second planet from the Sun and sixth in the solar system in size and mass. Venus is the brightest object in the night sky after our own moon. Venus is named after the Roman goddess of love and beauty and is the only planet named after a female. Venus and Earth are often called twins because they are similar in size, mass, density, composition, and gravity. Venus is actually only a little bit smaller than our home planet with a mass about 80% of Earth's. Venus' mean radius is 6,051.8 km. Venus is the hottest planet in the solar system. This is because of the high concentration of carbon dioxide in Venus' atmosphere, which works to produce an intense greenhouse effect, trapping heat in the atmosphere like a blanket, causing the temperature of the planet to be much higher. As a result, temperatures on Venus reach 471 degrees Celsius, which is more than hot enough to melt lead. Spacecraft have survived only a few hours after landing on the planet before being destroyed. With scorching temperatures, Venus also has a hellish atmosphere that consists mainly of carbon dioxide with clouds of sulfuric acid and only trace amounts of water. Venus takes 243 Earth days to rotate on its axis, which is by far the slowest of any of the major planets. The time for Venus takes to orbit the Sun is about 225 Earth days long. It means that days on Venus would be longer than years. If viewed from above, Venus rotates on its axis in a direction that's the opposite of most planets. That means, on Venus, the Sun will appear to rise in the west and set in the east. Venus has no moons and rings.
Earth and Mars. Earth is the only planet that is not named after a god. Earth is the third planet from the Sun and it's about 93 million months. The Earth is 4 billion years old. The Earth has the greatest density among all the planets in our solar system. The average density is 5.52 gram. 70% of the Earth's surface is underwater. The Earth is the only known planet that supports life. Mount Everest is the highest point found on Earth. It is about 8.8 km in height. The Earth has a very powerful magnetic field. The Earth's interior has 4 different layers, which is crust, mantle, outer core, and inner core. Mars is the fourth planet from the Sun. Mars and Earth are beside each other. Mars is the planet that people explore the most. The distance of Mars from Sun is 246 million kilometers. Mars is the closest planet with Earth, but it's not that close actually. One day of Mars takes about 34 hours 37 minutes, meanwhile Earth takes about 23 hours 56 minutes. Mars orbiting the Sun takes about 687 Earth days, almost double up with Earth. The atmosphere Mars mostly contains of carbon dioxide and the mixture of water vapor. Earth got one moon, meanwhile Mars got 2 moons, which is Phobos and Deimos. The temperature of Mars between average negative 61 degrees Celsius, which means it's cold. On Mars, you'd experience 62.5% less gravity than you're used to. Mars used to know as the red planet because of iron oxide. And lastly, Mars is a planet that can be seen with the naked eye.
About Jupiter and Saturn. Both Jupiter and Saturn are the biggest planets in our solar system. Jupiter, known as the king of the planets, is also a gas giant. It's made mostly of gases, like hydrogen and helium.
With no solid surface like Earth do, it's also super cold as the temperature is minus 140 Celsius.
Cold enough that it gives off most of its energy in the infrared. The Jupiter has its own internal heat source powered by the slow gravitational collapse ever since the planet was formed. The Lord of the Rings, or Saturn, is also a gas giant, but mostly hydrogen and helium. Has internal heat source just like Jupiter, but is colder, ranging about minus 220 to minus 160 Celsius.
Its rings are made out of particles of ice and dust.
These two planets, Jupiter and Saturn, act as a gatekeeper, sweeping up comets and asteroids that might crash into Earth.
Uranus.
Uranus is the 7th planet from the Sun with the 3rd largest diameter in our solar system. Uranus is very cool and windy. The ice giant is surrounded by 30 faint rings and 27 small moons. It's rotated at a nearly 90-degree angle from the plane of its orbit. This unique tilt makes Uranus appear to spin on its side. Day in Uranus take about 70 hours and 40 minutes. Uranus orbits the Sun once every 84 Earth years. Uranus was discovered by astronomer William Herschel in 1781. Uranus' environment is not conducive to life as the temperature, pressure, and material on this planet is too extreme and volatile for organisms to adapt to. Uranus is about 4 times wider than Earth. If Earth was the size of nickel, Uranus would be about as big as a softball. From an average distance of 1.8 billion miles, Uranus is about 20 astronomical units away from the Sun. Uranus has 27 moons. All of Uranus' moons appear to be roughly half water, ice, and half rock. The composition of the outer moons remain unknown. Uranus has 30 rings. The inner rings are mostly narrow, dark gray, and the 2 other ones are brightly colored. Uranian rings are made of water ice with the addition of some dark radiation processed organic structure. Uranus is one of the 2 ice giants in the the solar system. 80% of the planet's mass is made up of a hot, dense fluid of icy material which is water, methane, and ammonia.
Neptune.
Ice giant Neptune is the eighth and most distant planet in our solar system, more than 30 times as far from the Sun as Earth. Neptune is the only planet in our solar system not visible to the naked eye. One day on Neptune takes about 16 hours, and Neptune makes a complete orbit around the Sun in about 165 Earth years. The ice giant Neptune was the first planet located through mathematical calculation. Using prediction made by urban Liberia, Johann Keller discovered the planet in 1846. Neptune's environment is not conducive to life as the temperatures, pressures, and materials on this planet is too extreme and volatile for organisms to adapt to. Neptune is about 4 times wider than Earth. If Earth were the size of a nickel, Neptune would be about as big as a baseball. From an average distance of 2.8 billion miles, Neptune is 30 astronomical units away from the Sun. Sometimes Neptune is even farther from the Sun than dwarf planet Pluto. Pluto's oval-shaped orbit brings it inside Neptune's orbit for a 20 years period every 148 Earth years. However, Pluto can never crash into Neptune because for every 3 laps Neptune takes around the Sun, Pluto makes 2. Neptune's axis of rotation is tilted 28 degrees with respect to the plane of its orbit around the Sun, which is similar to the axial tilt of Mars and Earth. Moon. Neptune has 40 no moons. Neptune's largest moon is Triton. Neptune has at least 5 main rings and 4 prominent rings arcs that is known so far. The rings are thought to be relatively young and short-lived. Structure. Neptune is one of 2 ice giants in the outer solar system. About 80% of the planet's mass is made up of a hot, dense fluid of icy material which is water, methane, and ammonia.
Pluto.
Pluto once considered the 9th and most distant planet from the Sun, but it is now the largest known dwarf planet in the solar system. It is also one of the largest known members of the Kuiper Belt, a shadowy zone beyond the orbit of Neptune thought to be populated by hundreds of thousands of rocky ice bodies. Pluto is only about 1,400 miles wide. At that small size, Pluto is only about a half the width of the United States. From an average distance of 3.7 billion miles, Pluto is 39 astronomical units away from the Sun. One day on Pluto takes about 153 hours. Its axis of rotation is tilted 57 degrees with respect to the plane of its orbit around the Sun, so it spins almost on its side. Pluto's orbit around the Sun is unusual compared to the planets. It's both elliptical and tilted, and it took 248 Earth years long to complete the orbit. Pluto also exhibits a retrograde rotation spinning from east to west like Venus and Uranus. The surface of Pluto is extremely cold, so it seems unlikely that life could exist there. At such cold temperatures, water, which is vital for life as we know it, is essentially rock-like. Pluto has 5 known moons: Charon, Nix, Hydra, Kerberos, and Styx. Charon, the biggest of Pluto's moon, is about half the size of Pluto itself. Pluto's other 4 moons are much smaller, less than 100 miles wide. They are also irregularly shaped, not spherical like Charon. Unlike many other moons in the solar system, these moons are not tidally locked to Pluto. They all spin and don't keep the same face towards Pluto. Pluto is about 2/3 the diameter of Earth's moon and probably has a rocky core surrounded by a mantle of water ice. Interesting ice like methane and nitrogen frost coat the surface. Pluto's surface is characterized by mountains, valleys, plains, and craters. The temperature on Pluto can be as cold as -226 to -240 degrees Celsius.
Stars.
Stars are astronomical objects consisting of a luminous spheroid of plasma held together by their own gravity. Stars are huge celestial bodies made mostly of hydrogen and helium that produce light and heat from the churning nuclear forges inside their cores. Aside from our sun, stars appear as dots of light in the sky. Each and every one of them is light years away from us and much brighter than our own star, which is the sun. Our galaxy, the Milky Way, contains an estimated 300 billion stars alone. Stars are usually birthed in hydrogen-based dust clouds called nebulae. Stars are classified by their spectra and their temperature. There are 7 main types of stars in order of decreasing temperature. With the naked eye, we can perceive around 2,000 to 2,500 stars.